The O'Brien and Doug podcast is brought to you by Whited Ford Auto and Truck Center, 17 Holton Road in Presque Isle, Maine. Servicing all makes and models of heavy trucks and light-duty cars. Toll free at 800-764-4150.
It's nice, but sometimes it's like, come on, I'm just a punk kid who plays guitar.
And welcome to another O'Brien and Doug podcast. I'm O'Brien.
I am Doug.
And once again, I'll get the formalities out of the way.
Yes.
Follow us on all your favorite social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And let's build up those subscribers on our YouTube page. Of course, we'll be uploading content periodically. This is full disclosure. We're recording this on a Wednesday, October 7th. And it's gonna drop next Thursday, October. I don't even know what that is.
15th.
15th, maybe. And it's still fresh. Now, this is an Eddie Van Halen episode.
Yes, a tribute.
A tribute episode. Because we lost him yesterday to cancer. He was 65 years old. He had a long run with cancer. He was first diagnosed 20 years ago.
Yeah.
With tongue cancer.
Yeah.
And I think 10 years ago he was re-diagnosed with throat cancer.
Yeah, and I think this was lung cancer.
Well, I think that there's lung. I think it just kind of metastasized, and at least yesterday it went to his brain on Tuesday, I should say, because this will air on Thursday, the 15th or whatever it is. But we're not going to do any of the typical, Common Crossing song of the day, Wall of Tunes. We're not going to do any of that. We're just going to talk about Van Halen.
Yeah.
And what he and they, because let's face it, there is no Van Halen without Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, I was going to say that, now that Eddie has passed on, there's no Van Halen anymore.
Right.
They only exist on your albums and
I'll be honest, that's one of the things, because we're gonna get Joko on the line here pretty soon. Josh Kovac, our guitar player, who's living in Nashville, working in Nashville as well as a guitar player. We're gonna have him on in a few minutes to talk about it. But it hit me harder than I thought it would. Trying to figure out why it hit me harder than I thought it would, and I think that's part of the reason. Is because there was always, the Van Halen camp was always very private, and didn't let out any tidbits of inside information or anything like that. But there was always hope that either Eddie and Sammy would put their differences aside and they would make some new music, or we'd have something new with Roth, or maybe they let Michael Anthony back in the band and do a reunion tour of sorts. There was always a nugget of hope, and I think, or even new music. Didn't matter whether it was with Roth or Hagar. Just new music from Eddie and Alex. It would have been awesome.
Yeah.
And that's gone now. That all hope there is gone. So maybe that's why.
Well, I don't know if all hope is gone. Well, Eddie was always recording.
That's true.
So, somewhere down the road, maybe Wolfgang and Alex get together and create, some new music off some riff that he put down.
Yeah.
10 years ago or last week.
He did say that in a lot of interviews. He did say that he's got a lot of riffs. He just records riffs and pieces of songs, and that's how they build their songs.
Yeah, I don't think all hope's gone in that category, but
yeah,
as far as a reunion, there's going to be no more touring, and there's going to be no more concerts.
Obviously, yeah.
You can't have a Van Halen show without Eddie.
Right.
It's just you just can't do it.
Period. Yep.
Actually, I wanted to show you this.
Okay.
I found this. It is the ticket stub from the only Van Halen show I've ever been to. I don't know if you guys can.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, hold it right there.
Yeah, that's May 31st, 1992, the Neil Blaisdell Arena in Honolulu. I got to see Van Halen play.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's
with Hagar.
That was with Hagar, yeah. That was the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour.
Right. And how was it?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw Van Halen twice.
Right.
I saw them in Montreal with Hagar on the Balance tour. Well, I saw them. Were you with me?
No. That was the one where your wife got sick.
Yeah, so Collective
so you
Soul.
basically didn't see him.
Collective Soul was the opening act, and I completely missed their set because either on the way up there or before the show, my wife got my girlfriend at the time.
Right.
She's my wife now. Got food poisoning and spent the entire opening set in the bathroom, puking her brains out, and then. We had nosebleed seats. This was at the Bell Center in Montreal. It's a hockey arena, and they opened up with Seventh Seal. I mean, it was the Balance tour.
Yeah, right.
And I enjoyed what I saw, but most of the night I was comforting my then girlfriend, who was like really not feeling well.
Right.
So, but what I saw was amazing. And then my wife and I were lucky enough to see the reunion with Roth when they came to Bangor.
Right.
So, and I mean, other than Roth forgetting some words here and there and his voice not holding up, he's still a great showman.
Mm-hmm.
And they put on an amazing show. And I got to stand. I was probably maybe 15 feet away from Eddie when he was doing Eruption,
right,
and his whole guitar solo. Because I went and stood in the beer line, and just watched him. And eventually, some security guard came up and said, "Are you going to buy some beer?" I'm like, "No, I'm watching Eddie." Well, you got to go back to your seat.
Yeah,
but he let me stand there for a little while.
Well, that's good. That was good. So, when I was a kid, I think it was for my birthday. My mom and dad bought me a 45 record. I didn't have a tape player or anything yet.
Right.
They bought me the 45 of Jump.
Right. Yep.
For and I think it was my birthday. And I think the B-side was Top Jimmy or Drop Dead Legs. Yep. I can't remember. It was one of those two, I think.
Yep.
And I played the crap out of that album.
Yeah.
Or that 45, I should say.
Yeah.
And that started a lifelong. Because after that, when I had a tape, when I got my first tape deck, I went and bought like Van Halen albums.
Yep.
And so to see, to finally see, and then when I was in the Marines, my deployment soundtrack was Metallica and Van Halen. I always had Metallica on my Walkman.
Yep.
And I always had a Van Halen, maybe like a mixtape.
My kids keep asking me, "What's a Walkman?"
Yes. But I always had, those two bands.
Yep.
And I remember one time I bought I was at Camp Lejeune, and I was looking for a Van Halen album to take to the field. And I could only find Women and Children First. That was the only Van Halen
it's a great album
in all of Camp Lejeune, so I bought it.
Yep.
And I played the crap out of that album. I think I wore the tape out.
Yeah.
I played it so much, but it is still, every time I hear a song off that album, I'm always like,
yeah.
Like we've said before,
it's
music is a great time machine. It always transports you.
Yeah.
So I always like that. But yeah, when I saw Van Halen, and you've seen Van Halen, it was like Nirvana. It was like you've reached the place where you're like, these are the guys I've been listening to for years.
Right.
And there they are. They're playing the songs live right in front of my eyes.
Right.
Even if I was in the nosebleeds, didn't matter. They were still there. I could see them.
Yep.
They were live. They were moving. They weren't on a tape. They weren't on a CD. They were right there.
Yep.
And they're playing my favorite songs. It was awesome.
It's interesting that you started with 1984 as well, because that's where I started as well, was with Jump and Panama and Hot for Teacher, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this was in the MTV era.
Right.
But I remember distinctively hearing Jump on the radio and going, "What is that?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And
And unfortunately, we all thought Eddie Van Halen was this amazing keyboard player and not a guitar player.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You had no idea.
Until the other, because I think Jump was the first single.
Yeah, and I think when Panama came out, everyone was like,
oh, he could play guitar.
Eddie could play guitar.
Right. And then, so like you did, you start from 1984 and you go backwards. Well, this is great. Let's go back and see, where they started. And then this universally lauded first album.
Oh, the first album.
Just the first album with Eruption. It just...
My favorite song on the first album is On Fire.
Oh.
Every time that song comes on, you're like... You're like, fire! I think it's the quintessential Van Halen song because Roth's vocals are on fire. No pun intended. But I mean, his vocals are awesome on that. The riff, Eddie's guitar, just
I could pick so many favorite songs off that first album.
Oh, I mean, you pretty much pick all of them.
Little Dreamer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, was Little Dreamer on that one?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's the first album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Feel Your Love Tonight. I can't wait to feel your love.
Feel your love tonight.
Atomic Punk.
That's a great song. I don't think people give that song credit enough.
No. I mean, the list goes on, man, and he was such an innovator. And people have said, of course, we're late to the party on this because this is airing on a Thursday, the week after he died.
Right.
And it's probably all been said before, but Jimi Hendrix changed the way we look at electric guitar.
Right.
He was an innovator and just kind of, Eddie Van Halen was that as well.
Oh yeah.
He took it to another level, and he was not only about playing, he was about getting a sound, chasing a sound.
Yes.
And building the equipment that would get him that sound.
Yeah. And if you follow the progress from album to album to album, you can hear it.
Actually, Shane said that, and we were talking about it last week, I guess, how OU812 was the first Van Halen album that he bought, and he was, he could see the progression in the sound, and that's the guitar sound that he likes the best was what was on OU812.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I started with 84 and worked backwards, and then I distinctly remember, and I loved it. I loved all of the songs on all of the albums, right? And I loved David Lee Roth just because he was such a showman. But it was Eddie Van Halen that, I fell in love with because... Oh,
he was the alpha male of that band, right?
Well, I mean, it was the guitar.
Yeah.
It was an extension of himself. It was not... he wasn't playing a guitar. He was playing a body part. I mean, he made it look effortless.
Yeah.
And I wanted a piece of that. So obviously I wanted to play guitar. So I started to learn how to play guitar. And anyway, I distinctively remember Roth leaving, and doing his. Well, I don't remember reading about it or anything like that, but I remember Roth doing like. Just a Gigolo and I'm thinking, well, is that Van Halen? That's not Van Halen. And my mother's boyfriend, his son, who's probably 3 years older than I am, he used to come over to our house. This is when we lived in Blaine. And he used to come over to our house, and he had this, I don't remember what the car was, like a Chevy Cavalier. It's like, I mean, it would have been the mid to mid 80s, like 86.
Right.
And I thought he was the coolest guy. He's now a contractor that lives down in Holton and is doing very well for himself. I should give him a plug, but I don't know what his company's called. But I just thought he was the coolest guy, and he drove up in his Chevy Cavalier, and he had 5150 on. And he was like, this is the greatest album ever. And he put this cassette in his car, and I listened to Sammy Hagar.
Hello, baby.
Yeah. And then And then that was my soundtrack for the rest of the summer.
Right.
I went out, any money I could get, I went out and bought that album, or I had my mother buy it for me or something. I don't know. But I bought it, and every song on that album is just the soundtrack to my life. Dreams.
Yep.
Love Walks In.
Yep. No, Love Walks In was on your one too.
No. You're thinking of When It's Love.
Am I?
Yeah. Love Walks In was on 5150.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Get Up, the song 5150.
Mm-hmm.
Summer Nights.
Summer Nights is a great song.
Oh, my word.
You know what? One of my favorite songs on that album is the last one, Inside.
Yeah.
Well, they're just goofing off, basically.
Yeah.
I freaking love that. I listen to it on the headphones so I can hear what they're saying. And they're basically just riffing on each other, and it's really hilarious.
Where did you...
Mike, what was that you gave me last night? Stuff like that.
And then Alex Van Halen, because they had a bunch of marriage troubles at the time, and Alex Van Halen, right before the guitar solo, you hear Alex Van Halen go, "Alimony!"
Yeah.
Yeah, just and I was thinking about, because I know in preparing for this tribute podcast, I was thinking about it, but we got to let somebody in first. And this is let's see if we can get him in here. Josh Kovac, our guitar player, living in Nashville.
Hey,
right
it's
now.
Joko.
Hey, man.
Hey, brother.
How y'all doing?
All right. So we've already been talking for like 15 minutes. We're not doing this is not your typical episode. We're not doing a wall of tunes or anything like that. We're just talking about Van Halen. So I'm gonna let you have the floor, my friend.
Okay. It was a weird thing because it was we were in TJ Maxx at the home goods store and trying to just buy something for the kitchen, and my roommate from my last place I lived, DJ, texted me. He's like, "Yo, dude, my condolences. Sorry." And I was like, "For what?" And I thought he likes to bust my balls about the Pats all the time. So I was like, "Oh yeah, I know the Pats got their." He's a big Chiefs fan. So I was like, "Okay, yeah." And he's like, Eddie Van Halen. And I was like, I was like, "Oh my God." And Allison's like, "What's wrong?" And I didn't say anything other than, "Oh my God," I'm pretty sure, for the better part of an hour. And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "Eddie Van Halen died." And she's like, and she doesn't really like that kind of music, so she didn't really understand. But it was beyond surreal, just standing there and just trying to grasp the whole concept that was a possibility. Yeah. Was so foreign to me. And we were texting and stuff like that. And I think I let you know, I'm pretty sure. And it was, I just don't know. It's still hard to process. It was really difficult for me to try to explain to my girlfriend why it was rattling me so bad.
I was going to say the same thing because not to interrupt you, but
yeah.
I came home from work that day and was just, and I had 2 soccer games to go to, and I was just, usually I'm really cheering on my kids and everything, and I was just quiet because I was in another place, and she knew. Because I had posted on Facebook, rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen. So she knew what had happened. And so she came to me that night and she said, so I know you're upset, but why are you so upset? And I'm like, I don't know. I think it's, and Josh, we've talked about this. It hit me harder than I thought it was going to.
Same.
And I don't know if I even tried to explain to her why it affected me. I said to somebody, this is my John Lennon moment, when John Lennon was shot, because Eddie Van Halen was the first one that made me want to pick up the guitar. Yeah, right. So what did you tell her? What did you tell your girlfriend?
I was trying to explain to her because she asked me, she's like, what happened? Because she knows of how big Prince is to me as well.
Yep.
And she was like, what did you do when Prince passed? And I was like, honestly, I went home from school. I was in college doing my capstone, and it was 2:00 in the afternoon when I found out, and I went home for the day. Cause I was like, I couldn't do anything else. And she's like, really? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I couldn't do anything. It's like, I was just numb. I had nothing to say. And it was a similar situation. And I slowly started to try to like explain to her, and I was like showing her my news feed, and I was like, just so like kind of just to justify, like, I'm not crazy. This like means so much to so many other people too. Like this is huge. Like this is a big deal. Even if you're not a musician, like this is a big deal. And I still don't think I've really like articulated it well to her what it means. And I think I said something to you via text when we were talking about why it mattered so much. And I think it really, his music and what he did and how he did it and how he changed everything is like a soundtrack and like something that's so like important to like our lives at this point. I know for you, like, I mean, you and Doug grew up probably wearing these like tapes out.
Oh, we were just
talking about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And even myself, like everything in my life up to this point, I can genuinely trace back to that music. Like I'm only in Nashville doing this because of that. And
you've got the stripe, you've got the Frankenstrat to prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that one. I got this one sitting right here.
Yeah.
I got the red one of this. I went to Walmart today to buy light bulbs, and I was in the record section and I saw this. I didn't even like look at the price. Like I just grabbed it. I was like,
nice, man.
Awesome.
Dude, we were just saying that for both of us, the 1984 record was the first one we had heard of Van Halen. Mm-hmm. Then once we heard that and we were into it, we went back. We went back to like Van Halen 2, things like that. So that was like the seminal album for both of us.
Dude, I was in 4th grade.
Yeah, I was like in 5th, 6th grade.
Yeah. Well, I think I've listened to a lot of people talk too, and like just a lot of interviews and people like, saying their story about how Van Halen was so instrumental to their lives. And it seems like a lot of people that weren't already playing, like if they were old enough to be hip to what was going on in 1970, I think Van Halen came out in 78.
Yep.
If they were like hip to music, that one was huge.
Oh yeah.
But I think anybody else, I think 1984 was the one that put the mainstream.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because I mean that you have Jump, which Panama, and I think, 1984 having the keys, I think probably more like radio friendliness. So like that, like with so like Jump, I think just like having that song and like that energy put them more mainstream to the public. 1984 went to number 2 on Billboard behind Thriller, if I'm not mistaken.
Number 2, I think it did. Was it number 2 or number 4?
There. Yeah.
It never went to number 1.
No, I think it was number 2 though.
It was
for sure.
It was behind Thriller, yeah.
Yeah, which was Beat It on Thriller?
Beat It was on Thriller.
Yeah.
So,
right. Just the story about that behind that, Eddie Van Halen playing on the Beat It song is just so hilarious.
And Roth was mad at him for that.
Yeah, he was.
So I read it. I read Quincy put something out yesterday, and somebody sent it to me. I didn't realize this. He came in. Quincy said to Eddie, "Hey man, do whatever you want." And Eddie was like, "Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that, because I will." And he's like, "No, man, go for it." And Michael went down to another studio to do like a talking recording, to do like one of these, like just a dictation for like ET or something. And when he was gone, Eddie sat there with the engineer and was like, "Okay, cut this here, put a pre-chorus here, move this here." Eddie reproduced that whole song.
Yep.
And he recorded like 3 other solos, I think. Yep. And then that's what they ended up using. So I don't know if Eddie has a writer's credit or a producer's credit on that song as well.
I doubt it, because he doesn't even have a. He didn't
even get paid for it, man.
Yeah. No, it was. I don't think he wanted people to know that it was him.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No, it was mind blowing when everybody found out it was Eddie Van Halen, because when Beat It came out, everybody's like, "Oh man, that sounds like Eddie Van Halen. They're ripping off Eddie Van Halen." And secretly, I think Eddie was like, "That was me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so mind blowing to me. And that, I guess, I also read that he was he wasn't originally supposed to do that session. That was supposed to be Pete Townsend, and Pete Townsend couldn't do it, and said you should get Eddie Van Halen to do it.
I read that. I read about
the first
that
I've heard that.
Yeah,
I never.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Pete Townsend. Pete Townsend was like, I can't do it. Hey, why don't you? I think he recommended Eddie to Quincy, and that's why Quincy called Eddie.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you think?
Which is so cool.
Because we're talking about why this is affecting us so much, and Doug, you're a Van Halen fan. Do you think it's affecting guitar players differently, Josh?
I do, and I think that's because I don't think you can have. I don't think you could have ever. I don't think you could play guitar today or any time in the last 42 years and not have been like, oh shit, I gotta get a whammy bar. Or like,
yeah.
Or like, or have tapped, you know what I mean? Like there's no way, there's absolutely no way. Like, and it's so crazy. I had a moment today driving around, and I was listening to the Van Hagar era, and I actually went like re-digging into the Van Hagar era stuff about 2-3 weeks ago, which is so eerie.
Yeah.
And like listening to the 5150 album, listening to Dreams, like listening to, Right Now, all that stuff, like we were talking today.
Yep.
The lyrics for those songs hit so incredibly different right now. Like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it.
For sure.
And it's so wild. And I was talking to my buddy Andrew, who plays drums for another band one of the bands I'm in, and he's a great producer and multi-instrumentalist, and he's super into Van Halen, and so is his father. And he was calling me. He's like, man, he called me last night. He was going to pick his girlfriend up at work. He's like, I was just cruising down the highway. He's like, I made it through Running with the Devil. And he's like, and I was about 15 seconds into Eruption. And he's like, and I was just weeping in the car driving down the road. And he's like, he's like, those songs are so incredible and so instrumental to what we as musicians feel and like how we're sculpted and shaped. And like the songwriting is incredible and the pocket's incredible and everything's so great about them. And it was like nothing else that you can ever find. And even to this day, I don't think you find people that are copying Eddie Van Halen. You never find anybody that's quite him. You know what I mean? It's other people trying to be him.
You never will.
Doing the finger stuff on the fingerboard, or whatever. Nobody really did it until I did. Now everyone does it. Sammy had a good line about it. He said it's kind of like somebody stealing your car and then coming back next week, pulling up to your house and going, hey, check out my new car.
I was listening to the Blowhard there. What's his name? Eddie Trunk. And
oh, yep. The Alex Jones of rock and roll.
He was talking about how Ted Nugent and Eddie Van Halen were friendly, and they had met a couple times, and Ted Nugent had a really high opinion of Eddie, and they tried to play each other's guitars and gear. Mm-hmm. And Ted couldn't figure out Eddie's, and Eddie couldn't figure out Ted's, and he did end up playing through Eddie's gear, but it doesn't sound like Eddie,
right? And it wouldn't, and Eddie would play through Ted's gear, and it sounded like Eddie. I mean, it's a touch thing, and it's just in your fingers and in your soul, really. And I just think we were talking. You weren't privy to this, but I was talking about how now that he is gone, there was always a sliver of hope, always in the back of your mind. There was always Sammy.
Well, not even Sammy. Anything, whether it be new music, whether they go on tour, a reunion tour, whatever it was, there was always a sliver of hope, and to a large degree that's gone. Now Doug kind of, you said there might be some stuff in the vault.
I think we'll hear music. It won't be for like 5 years, but I think we'll get an album.
Yeah.
And
I hope so.
I really do, because I think there's too much work there. And I mean, even this last album, Different Kind of Truth. it was spoken about that several tracks from that album were old demos.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
You know, so, and you can hear it. It sounds like it. A lot of that record sounds like, I hate to say this negatively and speak ill of this, but it sounds like some of those tracks are copped versions of Van Halen 1 songs.
Yep.
I'm not mad about it.
No, and I don't think anybody, well, I shouldn't say that.
I don't think anybody was.
Well, I think there's always those just...
Critics can go to hell.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's always those people that say, oh, they just rehashed old songs. So what? You know, they're back with Roth. Why not bring that energy back, right?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Be that visceral... I watched an interview with David Lee Roth talking on Joe Rogan, and it was so funny. I never thought about this. And he was talking about like why Sammy and him were different. And he's like, think about these like beautiful songs that Sammy wrote. He's like, Love Walks In, Dreams.
Love, yeah.
He's like, Love of Love. He's like, ain't talking about love.
Right.
He's like, I'm telling you to do stuff. He's like, might as well jump.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, it's stuff like that. And it's like, I feel like Van Halen 1 came on the scene so wildly. He's like, you're running with the devil, dude. This isn't about like salvation. You're running with the devil.
Right.
Like, that's some heavy stuff. Like, that's metal, man.
Right.
Like that's as metal as it gets. And at that point it was like Black Sabbath. And I was explaining to somebody just earlier today, he was like, why was this so different? I was like, cause he's like, you had like Led Zeppelin and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, but man, listen to that guitar. Nobody did that. Like that. People were listening to that. They're like, what is making that noise? Yeah. It's like, that is mind blowing.
Yeah.
And it's just something crazy.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I freak myself out, you know, you go, whoa, that was kind of magical, you know, but those kind of things you can't always count on, you know. It's just inspirational, you know, spur of the moment thing. And wow, how did I do that? And I'll try to do it again, and I can't, you know.
Last point, because I know you got to go. I was thinking about this today. I was driving in the car, listening to, because Sirius has a Van Halen tribute channel on right now, and I've been listening to that like nonstop for the past day or two. You just picture all four guys in that band, whether it's with Roth or with Hagar, and how much fun they're having, right?
Always smiling.
Yeah.
That is the quintessential rock and roll band. That is they are the spirit of rock and roll. It's energy, it's rebellion, it's fun, and it's just kick ass.
Well, I mean, before they recorded their first album, they were playing backyards in California, Southern California. They were a party band.
Yes, and arguably they brought that party to a coliseum.
Yes, that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
See, what you guys are going through right now is what I went through back in January when Neil Peart died.
Yeah.
You know? Actually, I saw a post by Mike Portnoy, the drummer from Dream Theater. He had a picture. And it was half of it was Eddie and half it was Neil. And he said, Eddie was to guitar what Neil Peart was to drums.
Right.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And for them both to die in the same year, to me is like, whoa.
Yeah.
Things are changing.
Yeah.
Seriously changing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I was watching today Tim Pierce talk about when he went to LA for the first time and saw Van Halen. And he was walking by Cazares, I think, and He's like, I went to LA for the first time, and he's like, I just wanted to see an amazing guitar player. He's like, and I'd heard about this guy. He's like, I just wanted to see somebody play guitar, like, amazing. I just wanted to see that. He's like, I walked by Cazares. He's like, I made everybody that was with me buy a ticket. I was not missing that. He's like, it was like the most unreal sound I've ever heard. And he's like, I walked in and we listened, and he's like, they weren't playing like Van Halen. So it's like they played a couple originals that ended up on Van Halen 1. But he's like, I watched Eddie for 3.5 hours and he never tapped. And he's like, because I figured out, he's like, later that he was saving it. He's like, and that was apparently a big thing before they came on the scene, before like they got huge, and like right when Gene Simmons discovered them. And I think the first record was with Ted Templeman. Am I right? Or
Ted Templeman was the producer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He played with his back to the audience. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. He would turn around, and if he ever tapped, he'd turn around and do it, so that nobody knew what he was doing.
Right.
And it's like, I was trying to think about this today. Imagine doing something that's so foreign and so revolutionary that you're afraid to do it live because you don't want somebody to take it from you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what would have happened.
Imagine that. That's unreal to me. And he's like, and like listening to Eddie play these like covers and do these things. And there's so much today. We've talked about this before. Eddie sounds like Eddie, and like Eddie does Eddie's thing on certain things. But hearing people talk about watching them back in the days when they're playing covers, he was Eddie, but it was so crazy to watch him be Eddie, but really, really like politely insert himself into that music.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He wasn't doing a disservice to the song, which is something I think a lot of people need to take note of. And like I was guilty of it for a long time too, and I still am. But like honoring the song and knowing what you're doing and knowing what you're part of and accepting that and taking your ego out of it,
right?
And knowing that it's something more than you,
right?
Like those songs and those moments and those things matter so much more to so many people than your ego does in that moment. And I think that's an incredibly like powerful thing and mature thing. And to hear that he was like that, I mean, he was 23 when he recorded Van Halen 1. He was 23.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
What the hell? Like it's honestly mind blowing. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like that level, you don't see that to me. And this may be me just being an old soul and not like, you know, call me a millennial boomer, I guess. I don't know. But like,
I've never heard that.
I don't.
Millennial boomer.
I just made it up.
Okay.
I just made it up.
I like it though.
Thank you. It's like I feel like you just don't see that level of musicianship these days. I mean, you get your rogue ones, but nobody that's changed the way everything is done.
Because you do see that level of musicianship, I think, but they learned it from Eddie.
Well, I saw an incredible quote and I put it on my Instagram. I think Andy Wood, like the shredder, like the country style shredder, who's also a big 80s guy, he posted a quote that, and it really resonated with me, that it's easy to walk through the forest when somebody's already cut down all the trees for you.
Oh, yeah. Well, you think of Satriani, you think of Nuno Bettencourt. Those guys are unreal on the guitar.
Yeah.
But they're Eddie. I mean, Eddie is the one that started.
They're Eddie clones.
Well, I wouldn't say they're
not clones, but
because
they were definitely inspired
absolutely,
by it.
Yeah. Absolutely inspired.
There's no way you could not listen to Extreme. You could not listen to Porn Graffiti and not tell me like, oh, well, there's some big time Van Halen influence in there.
Oh,
Gary Sharon went to be in Van Halen for hell's sake. Like we don't want to talk about that, but it happened.
You know?
I will tell you, this Sirius Van Halen tribute channel, they've been playing some stuff from Van Halen 3.
I was wondering if people are just going to continue to skip over that even now.
No, they've played. I heard Dirty Water Dog. I've heard once. I heard, yes, How Many Say I.
Wow.
Yeah. I know.
They put that on the radio?
God love you, Eddie.
Yeah,
but
really.
It was.
That was not good. My favorite Eddie Van Halen quote, I think it was from an interview. He was talking about when he was first learning guitar. He would just sit in his room. Like Alex would go out and party, and Eddie be playing.
I know what you're going to say.
Alex would come back, and Eddie be still playing. And people would be like, oh, man, you're missing all the fun. And Eddie's like, yeah, but when I got good, I got all the women I wanted.
That's not the word he used.
Not the word he used, but that's the word I'm going to use. Right? So, but I think about that, and that's exactly what, who posted it today? That little snippet of Eddie talking.
Me.
Was it you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you posted. I shared it. Yeah.
You shared it, Joko.
Keep playing. Just keep
playing.
Eddie Van Halen here. Telling you, keep playing, man. Gotta keep playing. It's the only thing there is. Music, man. Keep playing. All right? I'm gonna come looking for you if you don't.
Yep. And that's been his philosophy basically forever. Yep. And I think we really should take that to heart as musicians.
I think we should too.
It doesn't matter if you play guitar, bass, drums, whatever you play.
Yep.
Eddie's words resonate.
Yep. Just keep playing.
Yeah.
It's the music is all that matters.
Yeah.
Yep. Dude, I know you got to go.
Yeah.
So tell the band we said hi, and they should listen to some Van Halen.
Bro, I know.
Yeah.
I made Austin. We were going to the gym, and I was like, "Dude, just put on I'm the One. I want you to play this song called I'm the One." And he's like, "Okay." And it's like we put it on, and he was like, "We're driving down the highway, the windows down," and it was like we listened like death metal before that, trying to get like pumped for the gym. And then all of a sudden, you just hear and he was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Yeah, dude. Yeah." I was like, imagine being 7 and hearing that.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. So thanks for dropping in on us. And
no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Much love to you.
Yeah,
and,
love you, man.
And
love you guys too.
Be good and crank that Van Halen.
Will do. I'll see you guys next time.
All right, brother. Cool. Take care.
See ya.
See ya.
That was cool of him to drop by.
I don't think we could have done this without Joko.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because he is such a...
Well, I mean...
Eddie is a huge influence to Joko.
He's got the striped sneakers.
Yep.
He's got the striped... he's got the Frankenstrat. Does he still have it? Because he didn't have it there.
I don't think he had it there, but I think he still has it.
Yeah.
And plus he's got some EVH Wolfgang model...
I've got
2 now?
I've got a Wolfgang.
You've got a Wolfgang, yeah.
I mean, it's as a guitar player, you can't escape it.
Right.
Just like you said, as a drummer, you can't escape Neil Peart.
Right.
I thought about this too, and then I squashed it because think about that band in heaven.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Neil Peart, Eddie Van Halen. I don't know.
Cliff Burton.
I was just gonna say Cliff Burton.
Yeah.
You know, do you think that they would? I don't know. What would that sound like?
That would be just like. God be like, I did that.
Yeah.
You guys kind of touched on it, but I was like, there's never going to be another Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Where do guitar players go now?
Eddie.
I mean, is Eddie Van Halen now the ultimate standard in guitar playing? No matter what genre you play, is that it? Is there ever going to be another innovator like? Is there going to be another innovator like a Hendrix or a Van Halen? Is there going to be somebody that comes down the road and it just does something on the guitar that everybody goes,
well,
their mind
I
is
see
blown?
people doing things on the guitar every day that blow my mind.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I don't know if I'll catch hell for saying this. There are better guitar players out there than Eddie Van Halen, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Satriani, to me, is a better, well-versed guitar player than Eddie Van Halen.
Sure.
But he's not Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because we touched on it in the conversation with Josh as well. Only Eddie Van Halen can play like Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
And he's got that soul and he's got that touch. Satriani has his own thing, but he's a more complete player, in my opinion, more versatile player. But he's not Eddie Van Halen. See, I mean, I think what you're asking is, will there be another Eddie Van Halen? I mean, we know there won't.
Right.
But will there be someone to come along that has their own touch and their own, that everybody, idolizes like they did Eddie Van Halen?
Yeah.
And that's a good question because they'd have to come up with something really amazing. Right. It would have to be
top Eddie.
Innovative, it had either a sound or we'll look at as much as I don't really like his style and his playing, look at Tom Morello. Okay, from Rage.
Yeah.
He invented a style of playing with the switches and stuff that he has on his guitar. Not my thing, but
he does make some
nobody
really...
else. Yeah, nobody else does that.
Yeah.
And he was the first and really, I think, the only one that does that. So
yeah, nobody else can do it.
He's got his thing. So I think it's I don't know the answer to that. I hope so. And on another note, I hope not, because I don't want to lose. I don't think we'll ever lose Eddie, but in the scheme of things,
No, Eddie will, in my mind, I think Eddie will always be the standard that everybody tries to attain to.
Yeah.
You know? But you got to keep that music out there, because if you don't, you know, the crap that's out there now.
Yeah.
You know, you got to introduce a kid to the first Van Halen album.
Yeah.
Here, hey, you like guitar? Here, listen to this. Play Eruption. People have lost their minds in that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And taking them there, and they hear that and they go, and that sets them off on a path.
Yep. And what we've kind of glossed over a little bit, we talked about it just a little bit, but take the guitar playing out of the picture. As a songwriter, because, you know, Sammy Hagar wrote lyrics.
Right.
Roth wrote lyrics. But Eddie Van Halen wrote all of the music.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, and there was some controversy a few years back when Eddie came out and he said, I had to show Mike Anthony what to play. Now, and Sammy Hagar defended, this is when they were, you know, at each other.
Right.
And Sammy Hagar defended Mike Anthony. And I don't think he had to show him how to play or what to play it, because, I mean, Mike Anthony is a very capable bass player.
Yes.
I think he wrote the songs.
Yeah, so he want it done a certain way.
Yeah, he had an idea of how he wanted the bass to go, so he would show him the parts.
Right.
He was a composer. He was an amazing songwriter, and the songs that he wrote, especially, I'm being biased here, in the Hagar era, the melodies and just the sense of melody that he brought to the table, his songwriting took off. Because, and I've always had this argument with an old drummer of mine from an old band that I was in, that if you take, not to diminish any of the Roth era albums, but if you take every Roth era album, you can listen to them. You did it yourself. You thought Little Dreamer wasn't on number one.
Right.
Because it's not cookie cutter, but it's a style of rock and roll.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they started the songs the same way. A lot of times they ended the songs the same way. A lot of times the structure of the songs was the same.
Right.
And I almost think that Roth had a little bit to do with that, but I'm not sure. But when Hagar got in the band, it went somewhere completely different.
Yeah. You could definitely tell a difference between Roth era Van Halen and Hagar era Van Halen.
Essentially two different bands.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I always think about Diver Down, the Diver Down album.
Which Eddie hated.
But you know what? There's so much good stuff on there.
Yeah.
And so much different stuff. Like Sweet William.
Yep.
Bad Billy is Sweet
Big
William.
Bad Billy,
now. You know, Eddie and Alex's dad played the clarinet on that.
Yep.
They did, you know, like Dancing in the Streets, and Eddie did Cathedral. Cathedral is one of the most beautiful pieces of music out there, if you ask me.
Yep.
Along with 316 when he on the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album.
Basically a lullaby for his son.
Those are two gorgeous pieces of music.
Yep. Yep.
You know? So, I mean, you know, but the common denominator is Eddie.
Yep.
There's definitely two different bands.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And again, not to take anything away, because, you know, there's a lot of love there. We say it with love. Eddie Van Halen changed my life. The band Van Halen changed my life. And so I think that's why I've been kind of bummed.
Yeah.
More bummed than usual.
It's like losing a piece of your childhood. It's like losing, like if you had a favorite stuffed animal and it gets lost.
Yeah.
You know, when you lose a musician, you know, from a band that you love.
Yeah.
You know, especially one that you grew up on, it feels like a piece of your childhood is gone forever.
I spent so much time on my bed listening to Van Halen, trying to learn that stuff.
Now, I was the exact opposite. Van Halen convinced me I will never play guitar.
Well, there's to an extent, me too.
Yeah.
Because
I used to love to play air guitar to it, and I realized I was like, I am never going to be able to play play guitar.
Yeah.
Which is not true. I can play guitar. I'm not great at it, but I can play. But I would never be anywhere even in the vicinity.
Right.
I'm not in this, Well, if Eddie Van Halen was it's a completely different league. If Eddie Van Halen was the NFL, I'm a guy that works at Dunkin' Donuts, outside the stadium or something. You know what I mean? It's not even close.
Yeah. I will be honest and say that I did give up. I spent hours and hours and years trying to emulate Eddie, try to learn all that stuff, and I learned a few things, and then I realized I'm a blues guitar player.
There you I like this. I like this.
That's my voice. That's I'm not Eddie, and I got to stop trying to be Eddie.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I love it any less. So I guess as we wrap up this tribute podcast, we shared a lot of cool stuff. I just want to encourage people to go out and listen to some Van Halen today, maybe every day this week. And carry on, let your kids hear it.
Yeah, definitely let the kids hear it. They gotta, because they're the ones that are gonna keep this alive.
Yeah,
we're only gonna go so far, and if they don't keep it alive, then that's gonna die.
Right. So thanks for listening to us. Just kind of vent and gush over Edward
Van Halen.
Edward Van Halen. Rest in peace, sir. And we will keep the music alive because there's a lot of it to keep alive. The legacy is strong. So that's gonna wrap up this podcast until next week, which will probably have a happier tone. I'm hoping.
As long as nobody else dies.
Right. I'm O'Brien.
I'm still Doug.
Have a great one, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Come on, I'm just a punk kid who plays guitar.